welcome to the very first Gym Monk podcast. I'm joined today by Divan, good friend and long-time client. And I just wanted to bring you on today to kind of discuss, well, I guess your experiences with being in the fitness industry as somebody who's kind of doing fitness on Instagram. You have quite a decent following. Give me a bit of a background in like how you got into fitness.
So I basically grew up as a fat kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite overweight for quite a long time. And, everyone around me was always very fit. Like my dad is a Springbok athlete, my brothers were rugby players and all these, all one was at least. And, growing up, it always felt like an unattainable goal for me, I was always overweight and I never, like looking a certain way, like the guys you saw on commercial and stuff, it never made sense to me. It's like something I could never achieve. And it felt like that for years, actually. I mean, up until the age of 20. I started weight training when I was 16. I started doing cardio when I was younger. I lost a lot of weight, but I never looked the weight I wanted to look. And then, about 3 or 6 years ago at this point, I decided that I actually wanted to I wanted to try something properly. So I got a coach to help me out. Their plan was to get me to be stage ready, basically. At that point, I'd never had a six pack in my life. The last time I had a six pack, I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So it never existed. So we're gonna prep you for a show.
Okay. Yeah.
I was supposed to do a show that year in August, so I started prep in February, and they obviously put me on a cycle and stuff like that. Nothing too hectic to start with, and we progressed. I gained some muscle. I was in a heavy bulking diet at that point, so I got also quite a bit fatter, which for me wasn't good because I don't like that. It triggers something in me that I'm not a fan of. And so I trained, and they postponed the show from August to December because I didn't look well enough or good enough, and so I basically stayed on a cycle for 10 months.
Yeah.
Like a hard one.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
And then when it came to actually being show ready, I did like a horrendous crash diet where I ate bacon cucumber 4 times a day for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I remember sitting in the kitchen like of my girlfriend at that time's house and looking in the cupboard just seeing Mari biscuits, right? And I was dying for those Mari biscuits. It was horrendous. And then when I got to stage, it just didn't look very
Yeah, the package didn't come together. I saw the photos. It was it didn't seem worth it.
No.
Yeah, I guess the crash diets definitely don't work.
No.
Do you think that if you'd grown up being more aware of, let's say if you'd grown up with knowing kind of not what you know now, because that would be very difficult, but having more access to information, kind of clearly knowing what you would need to do to get the kind of physique changes at a younger age, do you think that information was a limiting factor, or do you think it was maybe motivation or something else?
No, I think it might have been a combination of a few things, right? But at that point, I mean, I remember being 16 years old, and obviously my dad had been an athlete, but he wasn't a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And there's a large difference between being a good athlete and, being aesthetically pleasing, whatever. So even 10 years ago, there wasn't the access to information like there is now. There's so many channels on YouTube now that actually gives you proper information that just didn't exist. So you'd Google, what is the best exercise for this? And they give you just a load of shit.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things I used to do that ruined one of my shoulders for a while because I kept on getting impingements because it was a horrendous exerise. But I just did it because, this guy did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same problem. Like, I would go on bodybuilding.com and read the articles, and like what you realize later on is that the fitness industry has to kind of keep churning out material to keep making money, and so guys just keep writing article after article after article with some latest training program or some new diet plan or some new thing, but it's just probably just the rehashed.
It also feels like a secret-based industry when the best times. So like there's always hidden behind this paywall. Like, okay, you're gonna get the secret about how to get buff by buying this program. Except 90 days, then you can look excellent.
Yeah.
It's never a thing, and that's the thing that I think we learn is it always takes time.
Yeah.
Like it's a large amount of reading and gathering information and studying everything. And then
Yeah.
at some point, yes, then if you work consistently and stay on the same thing for months and years on end, then you'll get the progress.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I would have I had a similar kind of experience in terms of not being sort of consistent with training. I had my own autoimmune condition, so that's obviously played a role. But like just seeing over the last like 2 years being consistent with training and being able to be consistent with training, actually being healthy enough to consistently train, and I've made progress that I'd never made before in my life. So I think I think the big message is that consistency over a long period of time is the way that you kind of get those
Patience.
results.
So much patience.
So much patience. And then I guess one of the questions I have for you is if somebody was young, trying to get into, wanted to be really jacked, really fit, really lean, big, maybe wants to work in the fitness industry, what would you kind of give them, at least as like a what do you think they should do to start with?
I think you should educate yourself as much as you possibly can. Like, don't listen to fads. And I think saying that has like an inherent problem to it because, like, educate yourself. But there's so much misinformation and crap on the internet. You get so many channels like V Shred, right?
Yeah.
Which is just horrendous garbage. They're selling you like
marketing.
Yeah, it's bullshit, man. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's like getting a base of knowledge that you can work from a reliable source.
Yeah.
And then going from there and branching out. Because if you have a base of knowledge, like, okay, I know these set things work, right?
Yeah.
Then you can think, okay, well, logically speaking, if I listen to this guy and he says this, this should also work. So just slowly branch out. Don't try to go from, I'm 16 years old and I'm training to, I want to do training, right?
Yeah.
It's not so many steps before you get there.
Steps.
Hundreds of steps. Like years before you get there. And
Yeah.
so many guys do that, and it's just a horrendous thing.
It is. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of, and I guess, perhaps like, because when I was just getting into bodybuilding and kind of finding out about it, performance enhancing drugs was something that was very hard to get any information about. Mm-hmm. So what I knew was what I could find out basically on the internet doing a Google search, and it was really like, there was like maybe 3 or 4 websites and forums that really had somewhat useful information.
Yeah, they were selling gear on the side as well.
Yeah, usually. Usually all those forums also had, sponsors, which were all, gray or underground labs. And things like the minimum of 500 tests to start a cycle, like you can't go less than 500 milligrams of testosterone to start a cycle, as a basic example. But it's I think it's good that there's more information now, but I have to be honest, there's some information out there, or there's some individuals that are kind of like really reckless. Like I remember when Boston Lloyd first came on the scene. I don't know if you saw some of his early YouTube videos, but it was like, all the truth is coming out. This is what the pros really use. It's what Boston is taking. And then you come to find out, like, no, the pros take much less than what Boston was taking.
They're pros because they have the genetics to be pros. That's why they're pros.
Exactly. And so I agree with you. I think it's difficult for, especially with TikTok and stuff like that today. It's like it is more difficult to find out good information, even though I think there's more good information out there. There's so many people telling the truth or what they're doing, but it doesn't necessarily inform people about the sort of the myriad of options, like.
And also, I mean, not everything's going to work for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not just because if I do these exercises, for example, it doesn't mean it's going to do the same for you, because biomechanically I'm built different. Like my arms are a different length, my torso works differently. Like genetically speaking, people differ. So it just takes a lot of time to actually just to get you to understand what works for you. Like you have to experiment for so long, and you're going to fuck up hundreds of times. You're gonna be walking down a path for like 6 months, at the end of like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. That's just how it is. And then at some point, you just start over because you've now gotten more information and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just takes time. But the thing that honestly that breaks my heart every day, I'm in the gym, is people's form. I can't, man. I'm sitting there. I mean, I don't chat to people at the gym. I don't have friends there. I just it's very like I'm secluded there. That's what I want. But then I see someone, doing calls like this. Not like cheat calls. They're just starting at like 16-kilogram calls when they're, 16 years old and they can't even call 10 kilograms properly. Like, what are you doing? Like, can you not just logically? This doesn't work. Like, what is burning? Your shoulders? You're trying to do arms. So, apart from gear, because I think that's a bit more niche, like, form-wise, people just aren't educated. Like, you have to master the movements to be able to get, proper hypertrophy and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's form. And then diets is the other one where I just frequently, like that one, the guy sent you his diet and you were like, oh, well, no wonder you're not building muscle. Because there's no protein in your diet. But yeah, like I spoke with someone today and he was like, yeah, I just did this weight cut and because I was getting too fat and stuff. And he tells me what he was eating. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, the problem is there's not enough protein in there. There's like, you're probably 100 grams of protein short, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really building muscle. I'm like, but that's why
and
you need.
It's actually so simple. Eh? Like some aspects of this is stupidly simple.
Yeah,
but
it is.
Also, I think it is a large part of it to do with like what fitness influencers do. They want to make it seem more complicated, so that you have to have someone help you, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think most people, if you don't have the money for a coach, you can do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to have to do the research and stuff. It's entirely possible. But it's some of the things, when you actually get to a point where you understand, I just have to eat this and I have to be within that caloric range and I have to have enough protein and these micronutrients, then you're fine. I mean, if you don't want to be a bodybuilder, there are a lot less things you actually have to stress about at the end of the day. You don't have to worry about your blood works and your liver enzymes if you're not on gear and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, of course.
So people tend to overcomplicate it heavily.
No, true. Speaking of diets, because you were preparing for a show last year, and then you had to pull out because you had exams like the day before and the day after the show, basically. Which I can't imagine. I can't imagine being that hungry. Like I've gotten lean, but never that lean, and I can't imagine being that hungry and trying to write an exam. So that was a bummer that you had to pull out of that. But what would you say you did differently in terms of prep? Because you looked so different than what you looked last time, right? Like this time you were like 2 months out and you looked better than you did on stage.
I look great on stage, sitting right here. Honestly, no, I mean, I think back then I never counted calories. Right.
Oh yeah, fair
which
enough.
Which is ridiculous because that is one crucial point of it. And also back in the day, I never used to train hard enough. I didn't understand what training hard was. I didn't really fully appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, I'd be slightly sore or I'm kind of tired and then I'd just go home. Like not even reaching like muscular failure in some certain aspects or reaching a certain like amount of calories burned per day, keeping a close eye on things that I knew I had to keep a close eye on to cut down. And then diet was everything. Using diet hacks to actually stay within a caloric deficit without feeling like you're starving all the time, which you still do. Right?
Yeah,
you're just not going to feel starving for half an hour after you've eaten. But no, it was
So
tough.
what was your diet? Like what did you...
Yes, in the mornings, I think I did... one thing people shit on is Future Life, right?
Yeah.
But Future Life, honestly, if you can handle it, it's an excellent source of basically everything. It is made for people with like autoimmune diseases or not autoimmune, it's like...
Immune deficiency?
Yeah, immune deficiencies. Like people that can't get enough food in per day,
Yeah.
So I did Future Life and some cream of rice in the morning because cream of rice just really expands.
Yeah.
So I did that and then I'd eat 4 meals of like chicken, rice, and a shit ton of cooked spinach because it's just
filling. Yeah.
And then like if I had a sweet tooth, I'd do like sugar-free jelly because I can handle that type of stuff, and then carrots. Things that are just very very low in low in calories but high in fiber in general really helps.
Yeah, I the vegetables can be such a, people are like, if you want to be big and strong, eat your vegetables. No, eat your protein and your eggs. But if you want to be full, you should eat vegetables.
And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people don't struggle with appetite, right?
Yeah.
Like some people have to force themselves to eat. I have to, at an active basis, stop myself from eating.
Yeah.
Like I can't even. I mean, I'm very disciplined at this point, but I can't have cookies or shit in my cupboard.
Yeah.
Because just the thought of that being there, I can resist it for weeks. And then at some point, I'm gonna eat the entire pack of cookies in one shot.
Yeah.
So for me, like feeling full is very important, and there's so many like little small things you can do that really make it much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the vegetables, just add more vegetables to your meals for a lot of people is going to make a huge difference. And look, I went carnivore, so I didn't even eat vegetables for a while because of my autoimmune thing. But I now find that even adding vegetables to meals improves digestion. It improves like absorption. I find that just adding like just some kind of raw vegetable seems to really actually potentiate appetite. Like, because I have a problem eating, right? So I've got the opposite issue as you. I usually have to force feed myself to put weight on, and just by adding raw herbs and vegetables to the diet, I've been able to, like, I can feel that I'm digesting better and I can actually eat more food. Like yesterday was an example. It was like 11 o'clock at night and I'd already eaten my usual 3 meals. Like I was on like 2 meals a day for a while back because I was really busy, and I'm moving up to 3, and now I'm gonna have to move up to 4 at some point now because it was 11 o'clock at night and I was hungry and I had to eat again. So, which is great because yes, dude, like not being able to eat and knowing you need to feed, like you can feel that your body's hungry, but your gut doesn't want any more food is very frustrating. But yeah, so there's I think one thing that's for me been really kind of, I guess, frustrating with a lot of the fitness industry, I guess, and sort of a lot of that is the, I guess, the sort of use of like diet products as opposed to just eating, like starting with food. Because I'll give you an example. When I was living in California, this is one of my favorite memories of Walmart. So I used to go shopping at Walmart because it was 2 blocks away from me, but I would just buy, vegetables and meat basically and fruits. And so I've got my little, shopping cart with my chicken and, broccoli and, spinach and whatever else. And I look over to the left and I just noticed this very large obese woman pushing a very big American-sized shopping cart that's just like heaped over the top. Like she actually managed to pack it above the line. Like actually get it. Yeah. She actually managed to get it over there. And somehow she managed to not have a single thing that was recognizable as food. So there was only packages in there. There was boxes, cans, containers, but there was nothing that could resemble food. It was like it was this bizarre thing, and then sitting on top of this mountain of processed food are weight loss shakes.
Yeah, it cancels out. Cancels like Jenga.
It just cancels it out.
That's the cube on the top of the Jenga. Just poof. No, it is. But that's the thing, right? So people, like, I've had clients ask me like, yeah, but I do this diet shake. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter if I'm honest. It says diet because it's reduced in calories because they didn't put as much filler and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like people are brainwashed to think, oh, if I drink lemon water in the mornings, then I'll lose weight. No. It's not how it works.
It's not how it works. No. I'll give some of my strategy because I'm not as strict about counting calories as you, but I do change my portion. So I do regulate how much I'm eating, but I've been doing this for so long and been eating eating consciously and carefully for so long that I don't think the average person needs to seriously count calories. I think if most people were to start counted calories for about 6 weeks and they just learned roughly how much energy was in food. So it's like, okay, a half a cup of rice is roughly this much energy. I need a half a cup of rice, or I need a quarter cup of rice worth of energy, roughly speaking. I need maybe a big potato, or maybe I need, 2 big potatoes. Like just learning simple things like, okay, I need roughly, this much of this, and this, and then getting that in on a regular basis already begins to make such a huge difference. Like there's this one aspect with it that I don't really understand, which is that like people will be really frugal on their grocery bill. They'll be like, no, I don't spend more than like 1,500 on food a month, and they're really proud of it. Like I don't spend more. My grocery bill's 1,500, and I'm like, what are you eating?
You know,
bro?
I spend 2,000 rand a month just on meat.
Yeah, like what then? Okay, then, and I mean it's fine if you're a student or whatever. Like it's fine, right? But if you're trying to optimize, if you're trying to get like improve your performance in any way, and that includes bento. Like if you're eating if you're eating 1,500 rands worth of food, or like basically eating on this extremely limited budget, like what return on investment are you getting there?
People don't see it like that. Eh? People don't think about. I mean, the thing is, like you live in the body, right? And this is made out of atoms, right? Where do you think this comes from? You think you just kind of pick it up, like, oh, there's a bit of dust, now it's part of my hand. No, you eat the shit, right? So you eat the things and that becomes part of your body.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I'm just eating McDonald's and some ramen or whatever. It does physically alter the way you think about things and the way you feel. I mean, even I ate pasta for the first time in a while a few weeks ago, and my back just hurt. Like I just had inflammation everywhere just from the pasta.
Yeah.
Like okay, and then mentally you feel foggy and stuff like that. So when your diet is clean, you feel better.
You do.
But people don't think about it like that. They just think, oh yeah, it's food. Oh, I don't want to get fat. Yeah, sure, that's also a part of it. But eating clean does have a large mental,
But even just the idea of like that you can somehow that food is a place where you can budget and save money, like try to save, like cut down, and it's like it upsets me because like I have a client who spends like a ridiculously small amount of money on food and isn't getting physical results very quickly. Like his body is not changing very very quick, and I'm like, if you're not going to eat enough protein, I don't care how hard I push you in the gym. I can train you until you're throwing up. You're not going to grow, and your metrics aren't going to improve that much. Your progress is going to be very very slow. And if you're happy with that, that's fine. But it's this. I guess it's the people, it seems to me, underestimate the value of good nutrition and just basic habits, like getting enough sunlight, going on, doing the 10-minute walks, which I think we can maybe touch on that again, like just a little bit later, but just these basic things of like getting in enough micronutrients through your diet. Like there's a lot of focus on macronutrients, and I've made and will make more videos to taking the piss out of anybody that does the if it fits your macros thing. But it works. Look, it works. We all know it.
Yeah.
We all know calories in, calories out. But there's sort of the micronutrient element plays such a big, like enormous role, because so many, especially with females and working with female clients, like I basically took this one girl and told her, all right, basically just fix your habits. So stop being sedentary all day long. Like you need to get out and walk 3 times a day. Stop eating gluten and pasta like in large quantities. Like cut out all these inflammatory grains that are usually the source of an issue. I just cleaned up her diet and she lost something like 20 centimeters in a matter of weeks. And it was like most people that are watching this that are overweight or not where they need to be would improve and get closer to their goal just by cutting out processed foods and eating real food.
Oh yeah, that's the simplest thing. Like that's the easiest part of it. Like I said, it's not hard.
No,
it's just, but I don't know, for some reason, I think the thing is, a lot of people like it's very difficult to remove emotions from diets, right? Because
that's true.
A lot of people tend to like eat when they like. I think there's 2 ways of basically like dealing with it. Like some people when they grow up, they tend to rather store food, right, and not eat it, and other people tend to rather want to eat it instead of store it. Like you emotional eat. That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
Like the moment I started stressing whatever, like my body was trying to tell me, oh, you should build a fat layer right now, because I know in the future if you're going to be able to eat.
Yeah.
Some people don't really distinguish between the emotional aspect of it and just eating. So they confuse the reason why they want to eat. Like, oh, I'm hungry right now. No, you're stressed. Like you want to emotionally eat. It's not gonna help you anyway if you do that.
So emotional eating. This is something that, because I don't struggle with this, it's something I'm not as good at working with clients. I think I've perhaps failed some clients by not being able to get to the root cause of their eating habits, like what led to them to be overweight in the first place. Because I'd give them, I'll give a solid, food plan, micronutrients, everything's there. It's more than enough. They shouldn't even be that hungry on the diet. And then this person was having this like almost traumatic time following it. And I think that I mean it was all good, healthy like food, but that emotional eating aspect, what are some ways that you have personally overcome that for yourself? And then what would be some like recommendations for other people who have emotional eating or something like that?
For me personally, I think that the stem of all my emotional eating was a massive amount of self doubt. So, and a huge amount of overthinking because of that, right? So I'd walk into a scenario with people, and maybe I'd embarrass myself as a kid, or I'd feel like, oh, I messed up in this way, and then I would hyper fixate on that, and like kind of run through this loop. Oh, maybe I should have done that, and then I would stress and I would eat because of that.
Yeah.
So the moment I became, and like I started to realize, like, oh, the reason why you constantly feel like you mess up things is because you don't actually believe in yourself. Like you've never done the effort to believe in yourself, and I think a large part of that is also obviously confidence. And when I was a kid, you saw these kids, they were confident, right? And I thought, oh, why are they confident? Like, why can't I be confident? Why was I born confident like they are? And for me personally, I realized I have to earn confidence. Like you have to do small little things throughout your day to believe in yourself. Like you have to have little tiny challenges. Just overcome that progressively. Like, oh, okay, I'm actually worth something. Like I'm actually a good person, or I can do this and that. And with time, that helped me like negate a lot of self doubt. And then I also became cognizant of these loops that I fall into constantly. Like I always fall into these loops of overthinking and just keeping track of those thoughts, right? And then the moment a thought would come, I'm like, oh, no, don't approach it like that. There's a different perspective you can take, and approach it that way. And that's helped me a lot. So working on myself emotionally has helped me better myself physically, because you can't have one or the other. I mean, at times I've looked the best I've ever looked in my life, and then I felt like complete trash. Like if 6 months before that, when I was slightly chubby, I was happy. And which is bullshit, that's not supposed to. There has to be a balance between how you look physically and how you feel emotionally. It's not one or the other. You're not going to be happy if you look amazing. It's not a fact. Like you have to also work on yourself internally.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an inside job, right?
Oh yeah.
It's always an inside job. Yeah, because I definitely agree with that. I think you said something, the sort of becoming more conscious of your thoughts and sort of the motivators and drivers. I think very often people are not conscious with food.
I know.
Because it's just like, oh, just oh, here's a snack, just eat. Like when a kid's hungry, the parents will just grab something and feed it to them, right? Like and I've been around many parents with little kids, and like they'll, especially at like being 30 now, it's like, yeah, I'm around that, and the difference in what people will feed their children, or the level of unconsciousness that they'll feed their children with, is ridiculous. And then those habits obviously stay. Like it's like, if I'm hungry, I'm just gonna grab something to stop that feeling of hunger. There's no thoughts of like, I'm hungry, therefore my body must need sustenance. Therefore, I should pick something that will sustain my body in order to replenish that. There's no like, this is why I'm hungry, this is what that is supposed to lead to. It's just hunger, therefore satiate appetite immediately. And I mean, I suppose growing up in a home where like my mom was really concerned about like us eating healthy, which meant that she fed us whole grains 3 times a day, which is why why I'm as sick as I got. Was the irony was her trying to keep us healthy actually made me really sick. But the consciousness of food needs to bring vitality into the body. Just having that as an idea, just having that as a like, food matters, quality matters. I haven't eaten a lot of junk in the last 10 years. Like I just turned 30. I starting at probably 16 when I started really working out and lifting and sort of focusing on this stuff, because I was like 65 kgs. Can you imagine at this height in high school? 65 kgs. I was like a real thin, like,
I weighed 76 when I was 10.
Exactly.
And I was about this tall.
It took me, I think I was like 17 or something before I even hit 70 kgs. Yeah.
No, I hit that mark way,
Way too early.
I think when I was 9 years old, I weighed 63, if I remember correctly. But the thing about it is that negative attention, right? So everyone wants attention, right?
Yeah.
Everyone lies and says, "Oh no, I don't want attention." Everyone wants attention. Everyone does. But you get attention different ways. Like, so you can get attention from doing positive things by helping people out or being a positive person, just being a good person, or you can get attention from doing negative things like being an arsehole or crying all the time and shit like that. Things that don't benefit you, but at least you're getting attention. Which we are wired to do as kids because you want attention from your parents because like instinctually speaking, that means you're gonna have a high probability of surviving because someone looks after you. So when I was a kid, I got attention from being fat. Right? This is a fact. I mean, I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't happy, but subconsciously that was what I was doing. I mean, I remember impressing people by eating like 3 full plates of food when I was a kid. I can still do it now. I only impress myself now with that. But so people don't. They should be. There's a lot of things you should be conscious of. But you have to. The only way you become conscious of that is by being introspective. And it's hard to do, it's hard to look in the mirror and actually tell yourself, oh, listen, these things that I'm doing, the reason why I'm overweight, the reason why I don't have good relationships or can't maintain whatever, is because of you fucker, looking at me in the mirror. And it's hard to do that, man, because then you have to take responsibility. Oh, I can't blame my parents, I can't blame my friends, it's all my fault. And people don't do that. It's tough, but you have to do it. That's the first step. You're not done. From there, you have to actually start working on yourself, building a routine where you actually start, bettering yourself in the ways that you think you should.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it is very important.
There's the when you mentioned it, I was like, I need to note this. You talked about building confidence. There's a lot of, I'm sure if we spend 5 minutes on YouTube, we could find about 30 videos telling you to kind of pep yourself up, this sort of self-talk crap about confidence. And at least for me and everyone that I've been directly exposed to, that I've gotten to know very well, that is truly confident, I've never experienced somebody who was either born confident or talked themselves into confidence. That never happens. Confidence is always born, it would appear to me, out of repeated failure and success and pushing through that, right? So I'll give an example, like when, last year with the lockdowns and with all of that, business was very difficult. It's very difficult to make money. There was a lot of low points last year for a lot of people, not just me, but even the year before. Many people went through dips, and what gets most of us through that is that you've done other difficult things in your life. Like if I had never, so when just before university, I spent about a year working at a Spur, which is a chain restaurant for those not in South Africa.
A shitty chain restaurant.
A shitty chain restaurant. It's I mean, no offense to the company, but it's just cheap. Yeah, it's cheap rubbish. Don't drink the fruit juice, guys. Don't drink the fruit juice. It's just cheap it's sort of cheap fast food in a way. It's not the worst, but
no, it's not the best.
But working there was pretty tough, right? I worked there for 6 months as a waiter. I made really good money. Then I became a manager, made less money, and worked more hours, because that's always how it works, right? Somehow at the bottom you make more money, especially in the service industry. But so I went through this probably 6 months where I was working 70-hour weeks. So, and you're working late and you're working with money. So you have to you can't make mistakes, right? And that was the first time in my life that I was put in a situation where it was just brutally unpleasant the whole time. The service industry is unpleasant. The people working there are pretty unpleasant. The hours are unpleasant. It's 2-3 a.m. in the morning. But right after that, I went to university and had to work a full-time job to pay my way through. And that was really easy because I'd already done that one shitty year of working at a Spur, right? So I had built that sort of mental resilience and yeah, I can go to bed at 3 a.m. and still count 60,000 Rand accurately to the cent because I know I've done that before. I've had to do it day in and day out, day in and day out, right? So, you know,
That's actually a good point. I think people forget, like you forget how hard things were when you started. For me, I mean, at this point, I eat, like I eat exactly. I know exactly what I have to eat every day. I know how hard I have to train, how many hours of sleep, how many steps. Now, and now it's just like part of my life. You know, people ask me, "Oh, Devon, you know, how do you look a certain way?" I'm like, "Oh, it's easy." And for me, it is easy. Like it genuinely is because it's easy to maintain a certain physique. But I can't remember. Like if I have to think back about training when I was 16, that was horrible. Like it was hard, man. Everything was sore and was pain, and you're not sure what you're doing. And I think, but it's so like it's so crucial to go through that.
it is.
Like it's suffering is a wonderful thing to
It
do.
is wonderful.
Like you should suffer as much as you possibly can. Not
Yes.
not always in the sexy way. Just in just in like doing things that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's really important. And the thing is that actually bothers me when I say that is that my dad told me this when I was a kid. I'm like, nah, I want the comfortable life. Like I want to do things easily.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, man. Like being comfortable sometimes is nice, but you should be uncomfortable at the best of times, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I always found it sort of strange when you know, if somebody was like had a self-confidence problem, then everyone's like trying to like cheer them up.
Never works.
And no, it doesn't work. Like, and my advice would always be like, you should get a waitering job. Like somebody would be like, oh, you know, I just like don't feel like I'm very confident talking to people. I'm like, get a waitering job. And they're like, oh no, I can't do that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're bad at talking to people. Why don't you just do the most difficult, like just go and do it then. Force yourself to do it over and over again until it's not an issue, until it's a non-issue where going up to a table full of strangers, 12, 14, 15, 20 people is all of a sudden now not a mental obstacle when you were getting panic attacks when you had to talk in front of a class of a handful of people, right?
I actually had a similar experience when I've never been one for conflict, right? I don't really like conflict because I think it's unnecessary. But some aspects of life, you know, there is going to be some conflict, not necessarily violence, but just like argumentative. And you have to stand up for yourself at some points. And the place where I was taught to do that really well was in a club because I worked as a bouncer in Porch for, you know, a few months, which was horrendous. Like it was the worst. You get paid 300 Rand a night to work from 6 to 4 every morning. It's horrible, man. Like, you know, people puking everywhere and, you know, all that type of stuff. But it was a good place to learn because drunk people, they're easy to give shit to. So they have to chase someone out because they were throwing up on the floor, you know, they threw a glass or whatever, you know, sneak and join in behind his ear, which is very stupid. But yeah, so stuff like that, like doing shitty jobs, it's so necessary. And I mean, you know, not everyone has to do shitty jobs, but at least do something that's shitty. Something that everyone would do, you know.
Yeah, do something shitty to
go, you know, if you don't like your girlfriend's parents, go to a family reunion, impress them, make friends, do that, do something, you know.
I once had a one of the more bewildering conversations with an individual, where they were telling me like, I don't get this confrontational like thing you have about problems, and I'm like, huh? Like, please explain. No, like if there's something like, you know, that's sort of like a trauma, like you're just adamant about it, confronting it, and like, and I'm like, yes, because that's how you resolve trauma. I've resolved plenty of them. Like, what is your point? And this person then began to make excuses as to why people shouldn't like confront things they're afraid of. As an example, like there was this sort of very elaborate excuse structure created to kind of avoid the fact that when there's something uncomfortable, you have to confront it.
That's like, okay, you know what? This cave is real nice. Yeah. This cave is good. I don't want to, you know, farm. Fuck that. I'm just going to pick some berries for the rest of existence. That's a wonderful idea. Like, you have to confront things that are hard.
No, it's true. I wonder, I suppose it's a combination of like the fact that inherently as mammals, there's an avoiding of discomfort, right? There's the natural survival instinct of I don't want to be uncomfortable. And then coupled with technology, which makes things easier. And it makes it almost seem like there's that sort of anecdotal or that joke, which is that it only takes 10 years to make an overnight success.
Yeah.
And it's true because there's I think the internet creates this illusion that things can happen quickly,
Yeah.
that it doesn't take time for things to happen. They're sort of instantaneous
Yeah,
because I
because
can click a button and it happens.
Mm.
But it's like, in order to click that button, like 150 years worth of research went into that entire chain of things that led up to that. It's not a very, things aren't instantaneous and they require a lot of
But people
effort.
I think a lot of people aren't aware of the amount of effort that goes into things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, when I was younger, I used to if I saw something that looked exceptional, I was like, oh wow, how do you do that? Like, you look that way. Surely it's possible. You're not really cognizant of the amount of effort that goes into it, like thousands of hours, not just of training, but thinking and planning and everything. I think the problem with social media in general is, from what I've seen, like, you post a photo maybe once every couple of days, and then it's one photo, right? So they see what you look like right now. They've not seen you train, for 3 hours before that, and then, the thousands of times you've trained before that. I mean, for 9 months last year, I trained twice a day, every day. I trained, which was honestly stupid. But it was a good exercise in terms of like discipline and stuff like that.
Yeah, of
But
course.
so I trained myself to death. Like I at some points I was sitting there and at some point I was training 8 times a week and then went up to 11 because I added in cardio.
I remember
And
11,
I,
yeah.
I enjoyed it for the suffering that it was, but it wasn't beneficial. I wouldn't advise people to do it. But you don't think about the effort things take. You're not cognizant of all the nuances that go into something. You just think, oh, that guy looks that way. That must be easy. Anything like that. If you see someone play a piano, oh, that looks so easy. Surely I can do that as well.
Yeah.
You can. You're 100%. It's just gonna take a while. You just have to learn.
Yeah, it's gonna be 3-4 hours a day of practice.
Yeah.
Like I heard of somebody's regiment for getting their like grade 8, I think, is in piano, like with music. Like I think it graduates up till grade 8, whatever the maximum was. And she would literally get up at 5 in the morning, and I think she wouldn't do anything until 12 because she spent the first like 6 hours of the first 5 hours practically of her day practicing piano. That's it. It was like 5 hours of piano before the day even starts,
Sounds fun.
including Christmas. Like she was playing until and then she could come join for Christmas lunch after that. And it was like, that's what you have to do if you
Yeah,
want to
of
be
course.
that good. Like if that's what you want to do, if you want to be on that level.
The thing is, if you love something that much, you don't mind doing it. Like
Yeah.
I've trained on, not in South Africa. I've trained overseas on Christmas, New Year's, my birthday, everything. Because I think also the relationship, people think training as this punishment, like something you're not supposed to do.
I trained on my birthday.
Oh, I fucking love it. But when I wrote my last exam, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to treat myself with an arm session.
Yeah.
I'm going to go train because
Yeah.
that's something fun to do. Like
Yeah.
you have to condition yourself to not always see the same things in the same way, because the way you look at something like, oh, I can't believe I have to eat this chicken and rice and vegetables again. Like, it's not that bad. Like your taste buds are dulled from hundreds of grams of sugar every day. Just wait a while. It's going to start tasting quite well if you just give it some time.
Yeah.
We get used to it in any case.
Yeah, you get used to it. And I think, one thing that I will say is you should find some kind of enjoyment in your training and your exercise. Like I don't like cardio. I don't like running. I really don't like running. But I went and had a jog today. I jog once a week now because I found that if I just include a tiny bit of more cardio than just the 3 10-minute walks, which I do pretty religiously, if I include that little burst of cardio, my fitness goes up, but I only have to do it once a week. So, but I think just that concept of finding ways to enjoy what you're doing, finding an avenue into which it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it's a lot about it's about trying to, change up the training. Like how can I target my lats different, or how can I make sure that I'm not like hitting the top. I forget this other muscle at the top here, but
Nothing all those majoras, is that?
Yeah. So with my what I found with my lats was like I was getting a little wider at the top, but not at the bottom because the lats weren't activating as much. It was a lot in the upper back. So for me, like the interest is in sort of manipulating variables, playing with rep ranges, like working out different like compound like compositing workouts. Like, okay, well if I already hit the legs really hard, Then I want to start with the quads because that's going to protect the knee, because when the quads are full of blood, the knee's a lot tighter. Then we're going to hit hamstrings. Then I'm going to make sure that there's like this. And so I've found ways to engage my own mind or my own sort of curiosity within training that makes it always interesting. Like even if I'm tired, it's like, okay, but I can tweak this variable to make it interesting again. I can do something different to kind of change something.
Yeah, because this is not just a body, it's a fucking meat spacesuit, you know? It's really cool, man. Like, it's a fucking meat robot. It's really cool to understand how these things work because you don't necessarily understand how your muscles contract and function when you don't train them.
Yeah.
The more I've also trained, like, you get this insane connection with every aspect of your body that you know how to, like, I didn't even have to watch videos about how to do, like, an exercise anymore because I can feel where my quads contract, where other guys' quad would contract when me move the seat or whatever. It's so much fun in that sense. And then the other thing about it is that I think you should find enjoyment in it. And then also, something that's very important is that not everything, you don't have to enjoy everything. Some things are just going to fucking suck.
Yeah,
you know?
they are.
Some things are just going to be shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you might never like training legs. I now very much enjoy it. But I mean, I don't like training. Okay, I like training everything. But I mean, some things are going to suck. You know, if some days you're going to get up like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know? And just go through it. Like, you're not supposed to be having fun with everything you do.
I agree.
You know, some things like I don't feel like doing. I mean, I walk 10,000 steps a day. I don't want to walk 10,000 steps every day. Because I try to finish my steps before I leave the gym at like 3 in the afternoon. So if I'm done with my leg workout and I'm like, I don't really want to do this anymore, and I'm on 7,000 steps, like, well, you're gonna have to walk 30,000 steps now, or you're gonna have to walk the dogs twice again. Like, it's your choice. Like, you have to do that, and you have no choice before you go to bed. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like suffering and not enjoying things is very crucial.
No, it is. I guess maybe enjoyment's the wrong word. Engagement. You have to find something that where you can find a way to be engaged with it. We're not bored, right? It's like, because you don't want to. I've got another video coming out talking about like ditch the treadmill, like stop doing treadmill because it's boring. Like you're just gonna get bored. Like if you drive yourself to the gym every day and go stand on the treadmill, walk on the treadmill for an hour, you're
People
gonna get
just
bored.
drive to the gym and then just treadmill. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go? There's like everything. You just go walk. Just
walk to the gym.
Yeah, just walk your dog. Take a walk to the mall. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think to kind of circle back to your point, it not everything should be comfortable. In fact, I would encourage people to find things that are uncomfortable. Deliberately push into the place where you're afraid, you know, like find those places where it's, oh, but I don't know if I could. Well, you should.
Oh, yeah.
You probably should.
I have this thing where if I'm training, right, like if I'm doing maybe shoulder press and I think, oh, should I do 34 kilograms? I'm like, oh, you thought about it. You have to do it now. Like if I think about it, I'm like, oh, now if I don't do it, I understand it's not because I can't, it's just because I don't feel like it. Because I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but I can feel I still have the strength to do it. So then just do it. Like if you have to think about it, that's also a thing. Like people, man, you have to be so in control of your thoughts because you can think yourself out of anything if you want. If you give yourself a chance, you can find a reason why you shouldn't do it. Like, oh, you know what? I've trained really hard this week and I know I was off yesterday, but I've had a hard day, so I'm going to take it. No, just go train. You know, you can make up excuses for anything in life. It's very easy.
No, it's true. No, it's true. I've seen people justify the. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see people justify insane behavior.
Yeah.
Like insane behavior where it's like you're drinking every day and somehow this is a justifiable thing. Like this is not going to cause a problem down the road. Like how are you rationally, like you're giving me an argument that sounds like what you're doing is not a problem and very clearly it is. So I mean, I definitely think so. I think it's especially dangerous not to start making excuses when you have health issues.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, so, I mean, I have an autoimmune disease. I could just be like, oh, no, I can't really, like, train too hard or I can't do this or that because my autoimmune condition will flare up. And it does sometimes. So, but if I were to make that excuse, then I'm never going to build my physique. I'm never going to get the physique that I wanted to build. And I am going to be weaker and weaker through time because I'm going to keep running away from this thing that could fuck up my life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not that there isn't always risk. It's not that there isn't always a reason not to. Like, sometimes there's a reason not to train. Like, it's like, oh, well, I've got some health problems. It's like, well, okay, so you better not overtrain then. Like, fair enough, you better not overtrain then. But is making yourself weak and seeing yourself as a victim patient, like a weak patient, a sick patient, is that going to give you the mental fortitude to get through your condition or get through the thing that you have to battle with? Because everyone's got something that they've got to battle with. And or it's like, oh, but I have depression, so it's like, okay, I'm just going to keep giving in or keep going back to the same stuff. Like, and I can remember this very clear moment when I realized that, like, oh, it's actually up to me.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Oh,
when you,
yeah,
when
yeah.
you when you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I can do something about this situation. I don't like where I'm at. I don't like, you know, living with my grandmother while having to work 5 shifts a week and be at university full time and not have a girlfriend and barely have a social life. Like, I don't enjoy my life. This sucks. Like, okay, then do something about it,
yeah.
right? Like, then like figure out another way to make money. Like, and I did that. So it's, but anytime I've really come to a point where I've gotten stuck, invariably the problem has always been internal.
Oh, that's always the problem. It's always you.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, I think people are too rigid in their thought, right?
Yeah.
They think, oh, this opinion I have about this thing, that's me. No, it's just your opinion. Like, you are more fluid than that. I promise you, the same people who were emos 12 years ago are the people who are hipsters right now. It's the same people, right? They changed. They should change again. But but you can. But no, for me as well, so like I said, I was training since I was 16 as well. And when I was after that competition, yes, man, I on stage I didn't look good. I mean, I was above 10% fat on stage, right? It was the best I ever looked at that time, sure. But I didn't look very good for myself anyway. And then because I had crash dieted, like everything inside of me was screaming to eat everything I saw. And I justified it by thinking, oh, you know what? I'm skinny now. I can do it. It's post-show. I've earned it. So I gained 8 kilograms in 1 week. 1 week. I mean, sure, a lot of it was water. But,
That's impressive.
The Friday night before the contest, I had, the first time in my life, visible abs under the right lighting. The next week, when I was walking down the stairs, I could feel my stomach jiggle. And it took me a long time to lose that again. But the thing I decided, after a lot of stuff that happened, is that I thought, you know what? This has always been a thing in my mind. I've always struggled with this concept of looking good, right? And it's not everything. Looking good isn't everything. But I want to prove to myself that I can do it. I can do it. It's been this intangible concept. And then I sat down. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try now. And I fucked up a lot of times. Between then, I, gained fat, lost fat, looked good, looked bad, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that I decided, I am worth the suffering it's going to take. Like, the way I want to be is worth the pain. And then I just stuck with it. And now it's only been now the last year that I've actually started nailing down exactly what I have to do to have a certain body type that I want. So it takes so long, but it starts with the choice of, just do it. Just try. Just try anything. Just don't sit in your ass and just, melting the couch.
I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I think your experiences back that up, with health, with everything in life, is just to get started on something. Just if you're a couch potato and you've never worked out or never done anything like that, honestly, just start by walking. Just start walking.
Walking is incredible.
Yeah.
that has been, I mean, I don't do cardio. I maybe sprint once a week when I feel like it. But just doing steps, just getting like above 8,000 steps, that is what keeps me lean. Like, it's the easiest form of cardio to do.
Yeah. And just, if most people cut down processed food, had a little bit more whole foods, drank less, diet soda or less sodas and stuff, drank a little bit more water, and slept a little bit more, too many people sacrifice sleep
Oh,
for
yeah,
cardio and
yeah.
sleep for exercise and sleep for productivity. I don't know how you can justify sleeping less to be more productive. But anyways, not when you look at the research. But make sure that just start sleeping. Just start eating real food. Just start walking. Just start doing like the simple low hanging fruit that's already there.
Yeah, the easy
Walk
stuff.
after every meal. If you just walk after every time you've eaten, you're already going to experience a tremendous
If you want to
improvement in
be
your
like, if
condition.
you want to be a professor in quantum physics, you're not going to start with that, right? You start with like base math. So do that. I mean, not that fitness industry is the same as quantum physics. What I'm saying is, just start with the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Start with that, and then it gets easier as you go because more things make sense. Videos online are not going to confuse you because you're going to know what you're doing or understand some part of it at least.
Where can people follow you on the internet?
Divan underscore GON underscore fit. That's interesting, right? No one has ever asked me what the GON stands for. No one's gonna ever know. But yeah, no,
I suppose I shouldn't ask you either then.
Well, you should know. No, I'll tell you afterwards.
Cool. Yeah, great. Gym Monk Official, if you guys want to see my stuff, follow him. Your page is, just so that everyone knows, his page is hilarious. Like, every single one of his physique update pictures is accompanied by a very, very funny post.
I'm basically just the thirst trap. But
actually, I wanted to ask you what the humor element, like, what is that? Where did that come in? Because I that's something that I identify a lot with, sort of incorporating a humorous element into everything you do.
I hate taking everything seriously all the time. I only take one thing seriously, and that is, or two things: studies and working out. That's only two times. Everything else should not be taking that seriously. Everyone is stressing about so much shit. Just, it's funny, man. You're gonna die one day. Get over it.
And on that note, let's bring it to a close. Don't take life too seriously, guys. Go out and walk a little bit.